We take the long flight back to Kenya. As we drive south to Tanzania, there are reminders of the circle of life along the way. We're heading for the town of Arusha. Just outside the city, the Edmund Rice Sinon School has made great progress in less than 2 decades, both in providing educational services for the region and initiating an ongoing sustainability program.
We started off in the village of Sinon in 1989.
The school started with 1 class across the road.
And the rest of the kids did their work outside under the trees.
Academic performance was not good.
They had a Tanzanian principal who didn't have much of a vision for the place.
There was a fair bit of corruption in the school administration, and then Frank O'Shea came along.
It had a terrible reputation. They couldn't get students. It was on the edge of town, through that slum. It just looked to be a place built in the wrong area and forever going to be a loser.
Frank did have an enormous vision of what could be done to empower young people.
Immediately he started making decisions so that everyone knew that the school was moving in a new direction.
I had walked into the office, knocked on the door and said to the headmaster, "Here's a letter for you, I think you need to read it." And it basically said he was no longer headmaster. We had to get students to come to the school, whereas the previous administration had destroyed the confidence of the community. We had about 300 in Form 1 to 4 on my arrival, but the year before, say 94, only about 80 students would have applied to come. In the year 2000, we had 1,500 students applied to come.
Frank O'Shea is a bit hard to follow. He's a legend in the sense that he spent 13 years here and changed the school.
Frank O'Shea was an engine. He's a person with vigour, a lot of energy, every time looking ahead and thinking differently.
I'm a believer that you don't have to have the total picture of where something is going to begin it. Big journeys are started with the first small step.
Part of our sustainability is our biogas, and that's a product of our cows.
I grew up on a farm. I knew how to manage cows. Primarily, the idea of bringing in the cows was for education, putting agriculture into the education, making meaningful and relevant education for the students. Then add-ons came like, let's put in biogas. Australian government assisted with that.
About 1/5 of our cooking is done with biogas.
And we wanted to have the full system renewing itself. So we cut the grass, the cows ate the grass, out of there we got milk, then we got the manure, we could put that into the biogas.
To get a constant supply of gas, each day about 2 wheelbarrows full of cow manure is fed into the biogas chamber, and that's enough just to keep it ticking away.
But then there's also the leftover manure. How can I get that back on the garden? And I said to this engineer friend, I want you to move manure uphill for me without using any form of electricity.
At this point here, we put the manure into the chamber. Before it goes in, the manure has to be washed to get out bits of grass. Otherwise, we would have a problem with the grass finally composting at the bottom of the chamber. As the gas pressure builds up, the gas pushes the effluent out into airlock chambers, and eventually it comes out at this part here, which we then take to the vegetable garden.
Everywhere in Tanzania, they struggle with storing their produce. Everyone has a harvest. If you don't have a good way of storing it, you have to sell it. If 3 months later you're buying it back off merchants for twice the price.
We used to store the maize in bags in a shed. Now, every 3 months the bags would have to come out, the maize tipped out, sorted because the weevils get in and they just turn it to flour and it's wasted.
We used to mix a poison with the grain to stop insects eating it.
A telic powder is a bit like a DDT.
Now, if insects won't eat it, it must be pretty poisonous. Can't be terribly good for people. So I decided I needed a container which we could seal off. One day I looked at a container on a truck and said, there's my container, there's my silo.
So we've eliminated the problem of rats, we've eliminated the problems of weevils because we use biogas in the containers, and that will kill off the weevils.
It was very nice for me to see these dead weevils deprived of oxygen.
And also we've eliminated the human element of maize disappearing. But we've also been very fortunate that the Australian High Commission in Nairobi, they paid originally for our biogas. About 4 years ago, they paid for our internet tower, so we have wireless connection for internet because we have no phone lines down here. A generator was sent from Australia, from the foundation. We had to wire it in and house it, and so again we got a donation from the Australian High Commission in Nairobi to do that. Firewood has got very expensive, very hard to get, and it's not very environmentally sound to use firewood. So we're actually planting our own firewood at the moment as well, so that in 5 years' time we'll have a small part of Australia here with a big gum forest.
The person has to go through Form 6 to get into university. That means to get a better job.
When I initially arrived, Form 4 was probably enough. You could go to Teachers College after Form 4. If we were going to start Form 5 and 6, let's do something that no one else is doing. Let's build a facility and a resource that will be over and beyond the means of the local people. And so out of there came this vision for A-level campus, Form 5 and 6. Had to be large enough to allow diversity to come. It had to include boys and girls. And the foundation were in a position to say, right, a major project is what is needed. And away we went.
On May 13, 2008, the pride and joy of Sinon, its new science rooms, officially opened.
History, geography, English, that's easy. But science, maths, because that costs money, equipment, laboratories. And so most schools were staying away from it.
Mainly because equipment is expensive and chemicals, etc. are expensive. So there'd be very few schools doing the science combinations in the A-level.
Many people in Tanzania are failed just due to the lack of a laboratory for facilities for doing their science activities. But now we've got a big laboratory. They can try their level best to make the success on their subjects.
Africa needs its engineers. It needs its science-based. It needs this to move the economy forward.
We got a good library. This is the big changes, because even in our region, there's no a good library like this one.
When I started in Form 1, we were having only the small library, and it was not sufficient for us.